Hello everybody out there in TV land. This is Dr. Greg Smith. This is a required video for not only the online students but also for my residency students as well, because we're not meeting, as you can see in the class schedule, next week during Labor Day week. However, we'll continue the discussion and I'm going to create this short video lecturette giving you a quick overview of the PowerPoints, which you have full access to in Blackboard. But here at the beginning, before we start, what I'd like to do is give you some immediate feedback on the journal. As I've been looking at some of your journals, just know this up front. The first week one journals are probably going to be, if you got it done, you're going to get full credit. So points won't be taken off. I'm going to be very gracious this first week. Kind of a practice warm-up session, you might say. And that goes as well for the VoiceThread. Been getting a lot of late registrants for my online section. A lot of students are joining in, registering late for the semester, which I know happens in the real world, but that means that you're a little bit behind the eight ball. So I'm just giving a lot of grace. I like the God of the Old Testament in this first week. Now, we're revving up for that week coming back after Labor Day. So let's just look at the syllabus again. So by rights, she should have had a journal entry for this first set of reading. Pages 20 through 54, that's chapters 1 and 2 in the book, the Appendix A, as well as 2 articles by Michael Grisanti. Now coming back after Labor Day for that first, for the Monday, what's going to be due for both residency and online students is the Old Testament Background Part 2 reading material. That's the article by Rooker, especially and very importantly this article by Eugene Merrill, who's one of the grandfathers of conservative Old Testament studies in the United States, and as well as the Appendix B in the book. So you're reading those items and you're bringing information from your reading into your journal. So let me show you now, give you some immediate broad feedback on what I'm looking for in a good, well-written journal summary in Blackboard and what I'm not looking for, so that you can get full credit in the weeks ahead as we continue on this semester. One thing, just so I don't forget to say this and remind you, these extra articles here by Rooker and Merrill are located in Blackboard as downloadable PDF documents. So you don't have to find them anywhere. They're just on important topics. So the article that you see here by Dr. Rooker is the transmission and textual criticism. That's an important topic these days. But this one by Eugene Merrill is on history, theology, and hermeneutics. Very important that you read that and get the gist of that article, because I pretty much follow his words there to the T with regards to the class that I'll be teaching you this semester. I follow his hermeneutics. We're looking at the Old Testament not just as a game of trivial pursuit, but it's an author communicating with an audience. So he's not just a historian, he's a theologian as well. You have to recognize that when you're reading the Old Testament and preparing material for your groups as well. Let me just pause and we'll come right back. Alright, so here is an example of what I don't want to see ever, sorry to be so harsh, in your journal. And just looking through week 1, I actually did see some things kind of like this. This journal is not your... don't treat it as your quiet time journal. It's an academic journal that you're preparing for, specifically for demonstrating to me, your professor, that you've read, not only read, but you've thought about what you've read and digested it in such a way that you're giving it back to me in a well-written, concise, but in your own words, high-point summary of what you've read. So don't do this. For example, someone may have said something like this: the Old Testament is really a really cool book and has a lot of really neat stories about a lot of really neat people. We should read it a lot and learn a lot of really neat things. Like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, That is a way cool story. Like the show I watched, Naked and Afraid. Adam and Eve have to learn how to survive in the garden. Sorry, I just made myself laugh. I think the church could learn a lot from Adam and Eve and their example of making life work, despite the challenges of being naked and alone. Now that journal entry is wrong on a lot of levels. First of all, it demonstrates zero, see that in the zero, that student has even read anything that's been assigned for that week. There's no evidence in that journal entry right there that I know that student's interacted with Grisanti on the 2 articles that were assigned for week 1, or any of the chapters 1 and chapters 2 in the textbook, or the appendix that was assigned for week 1. So if that student keeps doing this kind of journal entry for the rest of the semester, there's going to be more and more and more points taken off. So I've alerted my grader to this, someone that's going to help me and be looking at this and checking this. So that's not what you want to do. Everybody understand that? Now, of course, I've kind of gotten an extreme example here. I'm just showing you the extremes. But here's an example of an actual student entry that I pulled off of Blackboard. I'm not going to give you his or her name, but I'm just going to show you a very thoughtful journal response. This particular student chose to talk about the authorship of Scripture. Clearly, they're interacting with the text, Hill and Walton note, which is excellent. They're giving me a page number here. And you can do that if you're referring to just the textbook. Just give me the page number. Everybody knows you're coming from a particular page. That's great. It shows me a specific place in the reading that you're interacting with. Another paragraph that starts here on the chapter 2. Remember in the reading, chapter 2, the second chapter talked about the geography of the Old Testament history. Also, we've got another paragraph that's going to talk about the authorship issue with regards to the Old Testament background, probably drawing from the Grisanti articles. Well, I just threw this in. I added this to the student entry. But there's an example if you're interacting with a particular article by Grisanti. There's 2 of those in the article by Rooker and specifically Eugene Merrill. Put the author last name and page number, and that'll tell me and my grader that you're interacting with something outside of the textbook. Everybody okay with that? All right, now here's the paragraph at the end. It's just very well done, pulling from actual other text, biblical text, but also just bringing some great ideas together with regards to application for the modern church. And that should be your final paragraph. So everybody see how very, very thoughtful this is. It demonstrates clear interaction with the reading, which is the whole idea. Thoughtful response, but yet you're not just giving me bullet points about what you read. This is a level of journal entry that I want to see. You're reading, and then you're thinking about what you've read, but then you're giving it back to me in your journal, basically in your own words. Thoughtful response. So let's try to strive, starting the week after Labor Day, with our second round of journal entry. Okay, everybody okay on that? And this goes for residency as well.